Hello, you're with Calling All Stations. Now, let's get cracking with this model railway in a box, episode 1. Now, before we do any sort of baseboard stuff, before we do any track planning, all that kind of good stuff, there's some remedial work that we need to do with the box. First of all, this foam insert in the lid, I want to take that out because it's my idea that we'll have rolling stock storage in the lid. You'll see what I mean in a future episode, hopefully. One of the other things I want to do, you'll see there's some sort of foam blocks glued into the base of the box. I need to cut them out so that we can fit the baseboard in. And then finally, down here, you'll see that there's no real handle on the front of the box. There are handles on the side, which is nice and useful, but I think we need one there. So I have bought a flight case handle. Incidentally, somebody did ask me what brand box this is. I just got this from eBay, cheap. It was about £35. There is some branding on it, GVG Disco Lighting. I don't know if they make boxes or whether that was just the company that had stuff in the box before it found its way to me. It is quite cheap for a flight case, only sort of 35 quid. Some of the more higher end flight cases for this kind of size, you're probably looking about £80, which is probably a little bit too much to spend on this kind of project. But I have seen some really good model railways built into vintage suitcases of a very similar size. So that was the other option, to go down a kind of vintage suitcase, leather suitcase look. But yes, things to do: take the foam pads out of there, take the foam pads out of there, and fit a handle. Let's go. Okay, so I've taken the foam insert out. That's there. I'm going to keep hold of that. That might be useful for something. It's revealed a bit of stuck on cardboard. I think I'm going to leave that in situ rather than try and peel that out. There's a lot of kind of glue residue. So what I'm going to do next is sand that down, so hopefully we can get a nice finish. Maybe we'll paint it at a later date. So I'm going to go and get some sandpaper. The sanding sponge took the edge off of the lumpy glue, and we'll come back and paint the inside of the lid at a later date. You now find me removing the foam inserts out of the base of the box, and there probably was a more elegant way of going about this, but I've gone for the hacksaw approach, and then when this was not practical, I used a spatula to prise the foam from the floor of the box. Fitting the handle was a lot simpler. Simply find and mark the centre of the box, drill some holes, and I've used some 10mm M5 bolts and nuts to secure it in place. And I had to remove a small square of foam liner to access the nut at the back. So, last time we were out in the garden, we were taking the foam inserts out of the bottom of the box, and that has left a little bit of a gluey mess in all the corners and on the base there. Now I went away and I thought about this for a while, and I thought, shall I live with it? You're probably not going to see that anyway once we put some scenery and stuff and once we lower the baseboard in. But I thought, no, let's do this properly. So what I've done is I've got some cheap MDF, and it really is very cheap, about 5mm thick. But it came out of a furniture packaging box, and I thought we'd use that to build a kind of structure, wall in the insides of the box. So here's some bits that I've pre-cut earlier, and hopefully, he says, the wind's just picking up, sorry about that, they should all fit in nicely. And there we go, wall in all four corners of the box. It hides the gluey mess, and now I'm going to use these MDF panels as back scenes. And I'm not going to glue in paper back scenes. The reason for that is we want to lower in and out a baseboard. The reason we want to lower in and out is because we're going to need to get to the wiring and for maintenance and such forth. So if we put in a paper back scene on here, I think that's going to get torn over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this and then hopefully make my own back scene out of that. But dual purpose this. So it's hiding away the horrible gluey splodges of the foam inserts, and then it's going to provide us a nice back scene. And actually, I think that looks quite nice. I need to sand off the edges, but I'm quite pleased with that. Finally, I've gone ahead and painted the inside of the lid. Join me tomorrow in the second half of this video, where we'll start to look at the baseboard and investigate a rolling stock storage solution. You've been with Calling All Stations, and I'll see you at the next stop.